doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I don't even think I haven't checked in with you at all today. I was just like, hey, how's the body feeling?
Body is feeling really, really good.
Okay.
I think over the last 2 weeks, I've been dealing with that little twinge, so to speak, the bottom of my SI. But I think kind of the hinge work that we've been doing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I can stand. I can play.
Yeah.
I'm feeling really, really good right now.
Has it like totally cleared, or
it's not? It's not totally cleared, but like I'm playing like 4 days this week.
Okay.
Like,
so it better be close.
No, it's close.
Yeah.
Like I'm playing 4 days this week, and I'm playing later tonight at 7 o'clock with like a group of like pretty solid gentlemen, and then I'm playing in like a small tournament this weekend. So feeling good.
Yeah.
Feeling really good. Yeah.
Cool. That's excellent. And that, I mean, I want to kind of backtrack like almost all the way to the beginning, but going back. So you've been dealing with this little issue maybe 3-4 weeks, something like that.
The little issue, just the one recently, probably three weeks, give or take. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I played in a tournament probably 5 weeks ago, and then a week after that, after like the fatigue had settled, the little twinge came back or started.
And so on the grand scheme of things, if you have something like that happen, how long is that going to take you to recover from?
Normally something like that, 2 weeks.
Okay.
A week. It didn't feel drastic. So a week is like a normal time.
Yeah.
But hanging on for 3 weeks that's when it started to scare me. I was like, okay, is there something up? Like I can't really play for 2 weeks. Every time I sit on my motorcycle, it's like,
Yeah. So, gotcha.
Can't have that.
So take me back to the very, very worst, darkest days. What was a play session like? What was a day like when you were like that?
Just in the last 3 weeks, or like when I first had my my back injury? Okay. All right. Well, I mean, we got to go back in time. Yeah. I officially messed up my back last year in March, February-ish.
Okay.
And it started from me picking up a ball.
For real, just picking up a ball?
Yeah. I picked up a ball because at that time I was full healthy. I was competing probably on a monthly basis. I played at that time I was in Boston.
Yep.
So I just came from a really big win. I won Brooklyn Open in January, and then I came back, and then February, February I was in Connecticut. I won another men's money ball.
Yep.
I forgot the name. It was Simsbury Winter something. And then March, before a tournament in March, it was one in Massachusetts. I was going for a three-peat. My body was holding on to fatigue. Because at this time, full training, I'm teaching on courts 15 to 20 hours a week. Yep. I'm drilling and practicing on my own time another 10 hours a week. So I'm physically on court 25 to 30 hours a week.
Yep.
Plus, outside of that, I'm doing my own physical workouts. Dumb of me to be doing heavy weighted plyometrics. Don't do that. Lesson learned. And on the third tournament that we played, I was already hurt. So before the third tournament, I went to pick up a ball during one of my coaching sessions, and then I felt a little bit of a zap near my tailbone. I was like, that doesn't feel good. And that's the first time that's ever happened.
Okay.
And I kind of played through it because it was it's a zap, whatever. I'm young, I'm strong, I'm healthy.
Sure.
And then over the course of the next 3 days, I just felt my entire low back kind of lock up, my QL, and pretty much my hips. And I saw a chiropractor.
Yep.
I saw a massage therapist just to get me in relative playing condition before that last March tournament. I muscled through the March tournament, ended up winning it.
Yeah.
Congrats. Nice. I had my partner did a big heavy carry. I was walking, limping, my hamstrings were cramping. Everything was full body failure by the time we got to the finals.
Okay.
Yeah. Partner hard carried me. Sam Kim, thank you.
Yeah.
And then from there, that's when everything kind of shut down. I think that little twinge when I picked up the ball, plus muscling through a tournament, just screwed everything up. I saw a chiropractor, got an x-ray, turned out it was a stress fracture L4. And
I don't know if I knew that. You actually had a stress fracture.
Yeah, it was a stress fracture L4. It was thin, and the doctor was you'll recover, just sit, don't do anything for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So I had a back brace for a week.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was it wasn't anything wild. It was something just to make sure that I wasn't moving for a week. I had it in bed 24 hours. But he said I was limited to only a week because if I wear it longer, muscle atrophy starts to happen and all that bad stuff.
Sure.
And that was what, after March. This was like April. So I'm resting, and then I thought I was going to recover faster. So I signed up for a May tournament. It was like APP New York in May. Guess what? I wasn't recovered, lose first round.
Mm.
And then
did you immediately feel that, like, performance-wise,
100%,
going in, just
100%.
like, this isn't happening?
Because, like, I mean, part of being an athlete is like, so part of the injury phase is it mentally holds you back.
Sure.
Because you don't, it's always in the back of your mind. You're like, okay, well, can I make this movement? Can I do that? You know, if I reach for a ball, am I going to like mess myself up again? Am I going to trip? Am I going to slip? And then it just, that back of the mind, like itching and scratching, like limits your gameplay severely.
Yep.
And that just caused like a snowball effect. Under pressure, under competition. You're traveling to New York, you got to compete, and you're like, well, can I really play?
Yeah.
So I think that tournament kind of caused like the downward spiral. So that was May, and then I fully sit out for 2 months. I saw like 2 other professionals, and like I saw 2 other chiropractors, and both of which were helpful, but neither of which really got to like fixing exactly what it was. It was more like temporary patch, like, here, let me fix you here, let me do that, but it wasn't like getting to the root of the problem. And then I just accepted all of last year. I kind of like, it's done.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we first met in October of 25.
Yeah, November.
So
yeah.
May through November, that time period just kind of.
No, May through November, May through July, August, I did nothing.
Okay.
And turns out it was good and bad. Good because I actually got to rest. Bad because the rest of my body started to like shut down from like lack of physical activity. My body tightened up. I hopped on peptides, BPC 157, TB 500, and that helped. But again, it didn't really target the problem, the source of the problem. And then I felt kind of good. And then I ended up playing in a tournament in October. Played well. I won the mixed with Jessica. Thank you, Jessica. You played really well. It was Apex. It's a local San Diego tournament, pretty big. Moneyball tournament. They host tournaments like every 2 weeks. Oh, sorry, every 2 months. Shout out to Apex. You guys have really, really, really good tournaments. They run smooth and there's good prize money.
Cool.
So yeah, I won that with Jessica in October, and then that kind of set me back again. So it's like every single time, like I feel good. I do like one big major activity where I have to play for like 6 hours, go hard, full gas, 100%, and then I'm out for like a month. And then met you in November.
That sounds about right.
Right after I came back from World Championships in Texas. Surprised I didn't do well because I got hurt in October again, and I literally came into Worlds round 1 pro qualifiers, like not good. Wasted my money, wasted my partner's money, so it's not a good look.
So I mean, there's so many interesting things here, and the first of which is, you know, I've been working with you for whatever it is, 5 or 6 months, something like that, and I didn't know a lot of those details, and we've been talking about this stuff. And one of the things that's interesting about injuries is we tend to kind of like suffer alone with them, because, you know, I can't tell that you're necessarily in pain, and maybe you don't play, but like maybe, you know, I don't notice how much you're playing compared to normal. And so there's like a huge mental component to it as well, because you know, nobody wants to be the person that's walking around and be like, oh, my back, all the time. And even if you do that like a little bit, people start to ignore it. They're like, yeah, whatever, you and your back. Yeah, I get it. You're being a big baby. But it's weird because, I mean, you were wearing a back brace. You had a stress fracture. I mean, you know, there's certainly iteratively worse things that could happen, but like, that's pretty bad. Like, most people aren't walking around with back braces. Most people don't have a literal broken back. And, you know, you kind of suffer in silence, and it's very depressing, and it's tough to get yourself out of that hole. And I think, you know, a good analogy is sort of like everything was fine until it wasn't. It's like the house of cards crumbles. So you pull out a card, it crumbles, and then you try and build it back up. But the problem is like building a house of cards is like very precarious. And you have to be very methodical. And if you put pressure on it, then it falls back again. So it's what you're experiencing is unfortunately insanely common. And then, you know, you try this, you try that, you talk to a person, and it's so difficult to find your way back. Is there something in particular you feel like we've done together that's been like, you know, because we've done a lot of stuff that probably didn't matter. Bench press probably didn't matter, right? It's just a nice thing to have. Is there something in particular you think that we've done that like jumps to the top of the list?
Yeah. Super couch.
Super couch. Okay.
Super couch.
Yeah.
I think starting to work with you was kind of like the first realization of how severely tight my hip flexors were. I mean, I felt it immediately, literally after like 3 sets of like 30, 45 seconds of just doing that stretch. I can stand relatively straight, and then the pressure gets relieved off my back. So that, I think over the 5 months, super couch for sure. I do that literally every day.
Yep.
And then I think now what's been the most effective is getting into that territory of not necessarily hyperextension, but starting to use my back and hips to kind of actually work the way they're supposed to. Because for the longest time, everything I did was severely guarded. Because, I mean, we got to backtrack. The movement that like would set off that injury again and restart it would always be a version of like hyperextension like this. And so my body naturally was like, it immediately guards against that. The moment I'm like, I got to do that, core locks, obliques lock, QL locks, like, no, you're not going to do that movement.
Right.
So I think recently, now that I think I know that I'm physically capable of moving around without getting hurt, it's retraining my body that I can do these motions. And I think re-strengthening those muscles that have like fallen asleep, so to speak. So what were we doing the other day? We were doing RDLs. Yeah, RDLs, barbell RDLs for the first time in 6 months.
Yep.
We're doing good mornings? The ones when I have the barbell on my back, or
the seated good mornings.
Yeah, seated good mornings like that. Before I would not even touch, because I'm like, no, this is even with zero weight, it would absolutely crack my back. But now, like, I didn't tell you, I did those alone yesterday. I was like, oh, I'm gonna test it out. Felt good.
Okay.
So I think those hinge movements, getting again recalibrating and telling my body like it's okay to move like that.
Yeah.
So now
100%.
like now that I'm incorporating it, obviously like very carefully, like I'm playing 4 days in a row this week.
Yep.
That's unheard of. Starting from like a really extremely hard session on Sunday. So
yeah, no, that's amazing. And it's interesting that you have that very clear, I wasn't even actually sure what you were going to say, but the very crystal clear, you knew what it was going to be like as I'm asking the question, super couch. It's really nice when, you know, you can find something like that and you can kind of lean on it, you know, in perpetuity, which I absolutely think, like, for anybody listening to this that just has back or hip issues, like super couch properly applied is like an A+ move.
Flex your glutes.
Yeah. Well, and it's so weird. I mean, I remember when we did the assessment and, you know, we were doing that groin movement. And I was like, all right, try and squeeze your glutes while you're here. And you're like, I literally, it's like there's a severed connection between them. And, you know, my sense these days is like, well, it's not that big of a deal because you've done a lot of that movement. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So I'm curious what your perception is. We've talked about this a little bit, but what your perception is of what, so you're out of the woods on injury, right? There's always going to be like the odds and ends that kind of creep in, but you're out of that phase of being actively injured. And now we're building, you know, foundation. How much more capacity do you think you have? So if you're injured, you're at a 0 out of 10.
Yeah.
So we've worked you up to, let's say, 3, 4, 5 or something like that. Where do you perceive you're at compared to what you could have?
So I'll base it off of like my physical capacity in like January, February last year. Because that's when I was like full gas, moving like a demon, no fear.
Yep.
So if that's like my physical capability at 90%, from there, like, well, what I mean by that is like, if you take me back in January 2025, when I was playing really well, I think at that point, I probably have 10 or 15% more to be even like a better athlete.
Sure.
So from now till that like max capacity, I'm probably at like 70-ish. I feel good. Yeah. But you know when you feel good and you're like, oh, I'm hitting my limiter, like that's it. I have like 5% more. If I feel good and I'm like, I'm literally scratching the surface. Like once I get even more comfortable with like moving and again retraining my brain that I'm okay to be making these movements. Yep. Like I have like a big chunk of like physical gain to be at.
Yeah. No, I agree. And and oftentimes, like as the coach, I feel like I have higher. I mean, almost certainly, I have higher expectations for someone than they do for themselves because I have like the broad sample to look at, and other people that do other things, and everyone's necessarily focused on themselves, and there's like as you mentioned a bit of that guarding. You'd mentioned something that I wanted to jump in on as well. What kind of things were you doing back in January, February when you were feeling really good? What kind of exercise stuff were you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Oh, when I was like working out.
Yeah, when you were back at your
like,
former peak.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
what kind of stuff were you doing?
I would hit the gym like 3 times a week. It's your very generic like low body / core workout. So squats, but I didn't have a squat rack at my place, so I used Smith machine squat.
Sure.
Totally fine.
Yep.
So I would do Smith machine squat. I would do barbell seated good mornings, single leg RDLs. What's the Bulgarian split squats?
Yep. Nasty.
Gross. And then I would do like the cable hip flexor, not hip flexor, the glute.
Yeah, like kickback.
Yeah. Glute kickbacks on the cable, and then your generic ab workouts. And then the most importantly for pickleball, for my 2E, because we have to squat, I would just do like my really deep goblet squats.
Yeah.
So weight not really necessary. I was probably doing like 75, 80 pound like goblet squats.
Sure.
Not crazy,
yeah.
But just to get like the reps of the movements. But the dumbest things that I would do would be like weighted jump squats on the Smith machine with way too much weight.
Yeah.
Literally. Because I mean, I felt good.
Sure, yeah.
I was like, dude, this, especially on a Smith machine, like 135 on a Smith machine, it's like 50 pounds.
Sure. Yep.
On a normal squat rack. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to put 2 plates. I'm assisted anyways. And I'm almost for sure, just all the like thrust with like 135, 160 pounds, just up, down, like boom, boom, boom. Like I'm almost certain that's what like said no to my back.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a pretty plausible outcome. Would you say extracting that other, because everything you were doing, I mean, sounds, obviously I didn't see you do it, and the reps and the weights and whatever it is, but I mean, it sounds like everything you're doing was pretty standard issue, productive, safe stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So outside of that, I mean, is that the risk factor that you think like made all this happen?
It's a culmination. It's the weighted plyometrics, me being on court for 30 hours a week.
Sure.
And just, I mean, pickleball in general, I'm always hinged forward.
Sure.
So combine all of that with a constant state of like tightened hip flexors.
Yep.
Stress on your back, like and I'm not 20. I'm not old.
Sure.
I'm 33, but I'm not 20. Like something's going to give at some point.
Right.
So.
I remember what I was going to ask you before. So okay. So you were doing really well.
Yep.
Then you got injured. You're back to doing well. Do you still feel guarded or apprehensive?
Yes.
Where?
Same exact spot.
Okay.
Guarded in this whole, probably, I would say from like tailbone up to, you can't really see, but like right here.
Sure.
So this whole area.
Yep.
Anytime I hop on court, I still feel guarded, but the level of my body naturally telling me like don't move and restrict, way less. I couldn't give you a number, but there are some times on court when I forget that I'm coming off of an injury.
Yeah. That's
which is good, which is good. Like normally a movement where I would have absolutely fallen apart and just like re-injured myself. I do that movement without thinking. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh, well, I'm not broken.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yep.
So we're going in the right direction. Yeah.
That's actually something I feel like we've talked about a fair bit, because you have literally the capacity of your tissues to, at some point, the bicep curl, it will just stop moving. Your muscle will involuntarily, despite your brain saying do the movement, it will just stop, right?
Yep.
And so same thing happens with injuries. If your ACL explodes, there's no amount of will that can, get your knee to function correctly. Mm-hmm. But then there's also just the mental apprehension of when I take that step, what's going to happen to my ACL? If I try and take that next bicep curl, is it going to hurt my elbow, my shoulder, whatever it is? So it sounds like, there's still that tug of war of, is the body performing? Yep. I have this guarded apprehension somewhere up in the stratosphere of like, well, how high of ability can I get before I break? And then hopefully you eventually just fly up there and just don't think about it, which it sounds like you're doing a bit more of.
I'm doing a bit more of that. For sure. That's the goal. The goal is I want to hop on court and not once have to think about like, oh, well, I might have a limit here, and I can't do that, because any sort of hesitation when you're competing, you know this, it just hinders your performance by that much. And
Sure.
when we're playing at the highest level, like I need every bit that I can get. I don't know if I'll ever be at a point where I can hop on the court again and just play willy-nilly, carefree. I don't care what movements I do. I don't know. I hope so.
I'd wager that's very possible.
Yeah.
Because I am 42. Wait, how old did you say you were?
33.
Okay, so I'm about 10 years older than you.
Yeah.
And the stuff that I do is, it's different, but it's aggressive and it's in very similar fashion.
Yep.
And I have been on the mat, jiu-jitsu, right? So I've shared that. So I have been on the mats feeling apprehensive about most of my elbows and sometimes just random stuff like neck or whatever it is. And so I have a very distinct calibration and difference of when I know I'm feeling good. I have that sort of like intuitive sense that, I hope everyone can accumulate at some point where you just go like, no, I feel good. Things are good. I just know intuitively somehow versus, all right, I'm not going to do this and this and this because I know there's some chance that it will punish me. I feel I have an answer to this, but I'm curious your take. What do you feel like you need to accomplish between now and acquiring that feeling, if that feeling is to be acquired?
That feeling of like no fear movement?
Yeah, no fear.
What do I need to accomplish to get there?
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably another year of whatever we're doing.
I would agree, probably a year, somewhere in that neighborhood. But like
more movements of like deadlifting and like RDL-esque movements that essentially tell my body like, no, your low back can handle this load, or your low back can handle this load, but kind of more importantly, we're training the right muscles around your surrounding low back to take the load so that your low back doesn't have to take the load.
Yeah. Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it ends up being the over preparation, and that's what I've tried to communicate a lot. Like the social media stuff I make is you can be vulnerable and on the verge of injury and just kind of like skating by the skin of your teeth. You can be like moderately prepared, but it's like 50-50. Maybe you go out there and a lot of folks are out here, they're wearing knee braces and stuff like that, and maybe the knee holds up, maybe it doesn't. 50-50. You could be adequately prepared. So it's like, as long as you're not getting hit by a vehicle, you'll be more or less okay. As long as you don't take like some crazy outside the box, step or play 10 games or whatever it is. But the idea that I would have for most people is be so abundantly over prepared that the game is almost incapable of breaking you.
Yep.
So if you were to play it, like what's an example of, I mean, it sounds like you're alluding to it already. So you're going to play, you said 4 working sessions this week or something like that?
Well, normally, this week isn't like an abnormality. This week was kind of like a test week. Send it and see what happens to my body week.
Yeah.
Normally, it's 15 hours of teaching, and then I don't even have much time to play.
Okay.
Because like standing on court like beats me up. So I'd say my own personal time to play, I have like one dedicated Wednesday block of high-level games. That's 2 hours. And then I'll probably drill like once or twice a week, if that.
Okay.
So my personal time to practice is like 3 hours, let's say, on every week. So now I'm on court between 15 and 18 hours a week.
Okay.
This week, let's start it from Sunday. I did a YOLO session for 2.5 hours just because I just wanted to play. I was like, I want to grab a paddle. I want to hit the ball. I want to drive some shots and have a good time, see some friends.
Yeah.
So that was Sunday. Monday, I had like another intense drill session with one of the other coaches here. That was an hour and a half. And then Tuesday, I took a break. Yesterday, I had a 2-hour block. Wednesday is my dedicated playtime. So 2-hour block. Tonight, I have another 2-hour block, men's games. And then Sunday, I have it's not like a super competitive like Moneyball, APP, or PPA. It's like a casual funsies for the Vibes tournament. But that on its own is that tournament's probably going to be like 4 hours on-off of play.
Yeah.
So just this week alone, outside of my coaching hours, I'm like doing 10 plus.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yep.
And I'm not broken.
Yep.
I feel a little bit of fatigue, but fatigue is fine. I'll hold on to fatigue. But I'm kind of like this is my YOLO test week and see what happens.
No, that's
Yeah.
awesome. When we first met, between movements,
Mhm.
you would lay on the floor.
Yes.
Why would you lay on the floor?
I laying on the floor was like one of the only ways to get my low back to relax.
Yeah.
So it would either be laying on the floor or a combination of laying on the floor with my leg up on something.
Yep.
Because literally I would stand for 20 minutes and then my back's like, no, you got to sit down. Or not even sitting hurt. I couldn't even sit. I had to lay down.
Yeah.
So I would do one super couch exercise, stand up, maybe do like bicep curls. Like, nope, you got to lay down for 15, 30 seconds before I do anything. And that was literally my life. If I'm not in bed, if I'm not teaching, I'm laying down on the floor. There's an upstairs to Rally House that people don't know.
Yep.
I'm laying down on the floor with my leg on one of those couches, like all the time with my phone like this, like looking at the ceiling. Yeah. That's my break. That's my nap time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How often do you need to lay down these days?
Not so much. I only lay down if it's like, let's say, the PPA that I played in February, that one was like my first. I want to say that was my first like real like tournament physical test.
Yep.
After World Championships in November, so we had spent like 2.5 months of like kind of rebuilding, and that was let's see what my body can do. I felt I was able to push like 80, maybe 90% physicality, which was great. But in between games, 100%, I would lay down. Not because I needed to, but I knew that it was a way for me to. It was one of my stretches.
Sure.
So after every match, I would do a series of like 10-minute stretches, like super couch. I would do the one like the butterfly stretch against the wall, and then I would lay down for literally 5 minutes, like just on a straight hardwood, not hardwood, like it would be concrete because I'm outside.
Yep.
So in tournaments, I'm always like laying down on my back in between matches. But now if it's like a regular day in between coaching lessons, I don't have to. I can sit on chairs now. I can stand up for long periods of time. So on a regular day, probably like once a day, twice a day, as opposed to every 10 minutes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm very purposefully and strategically trying to shoehorn in here like what the inputs are, because I feel like a lot of times, people, for instance, will reach out to me and be like, hey, do you have programs, or hey, do you have advice on an ankle, or they'll call me up for a consult or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so you, let's just say, were problematically encumbered with your back and everything for like 9 months. We started working together in November, December, January, February, March. We're in April now, so 6 months, we'll call it.
Yep.
In those 6 months, we've met twice a week, most weeks.
Yep.
Okay, you miss occasionally here and there. But I would say actually the secret sauce, sure, meeting and me having eyes on reps and keeping you motivated, whatever it is, that's all very important. But I would say the secret sauce is actually your extreme diligence when we weren't meeting. So yes, we're working on deadlifts and we're doing all this stuff. Tell me a bit about what you are doing on your own since we started meeting that you feel furthered this process along. Like, what kind of movements, how many times a week, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, I think you kind of nailed like the important part of any sort of recovery.
Yep.
Anytime, even if it's not recovery, if it's you're training to physically get better, it's outside of those sessions, those 1 or 2, because I would only spend 2 hours of my entire 7 days with you.
Right.
So those were extremely valuable 2 hours. But those were the 2 hours that I would kind of nitpick and have side conversations with you, like, hey, which ones can I take and do on my own time safely?
Yep.
And the key word is, I think, for most athletes is don't overdo it and do it safely. Like, it's natural for all competitive people to be like, oh, I'm going to stretch 84 times.
Yeah. Right.
Because more is better. Like, I got to go. But the hard part is finding that balance between, like, I have to physically stretch every single day, multiple times a day. But I also have to find the balance of like, when is doing too much.
Right.
So I would cycle the everydays for sure were the super couches. Super couches every day, at least minimum 3 sets of like 45 seconds a day. That's bare minimum. And then as far as like workouts would go, the sled is almost a daily.
Yep.
And now I incorporate like the sled push and sled slide with like a superset with like some variation of like quad exercises. But I mean, mainly mobility for like abductors, mobility for my hip flexors, glute strength, and not so much core, because I'm starting to realize that my core has worked every single time I do some sort of movement. So I'm not doing sit-ups.
Right.
Like, but my core is very much worked out, just because literally every movement is engage core, then do a pull-up, engage core, and then do a Bulgarian split squat, engage core, and then do my calf raises. But yeah, it's a balance between doing too much and making sure I do exercises and or stretches every day, and then kind of like not overdoing it.
Yeah. There's so much interesting context, I think, to tease apart there. The first of which is core. Is I'm with you. I consider myself to have like a pretty darn strong core that can rise to the level of doing a bunch of things, and I barely work it.
Yeah.
And I think, the key there is your core is just basically the transfer of force between upper and lower body, right? More or less. And so if you're engaging yourself and integrating yourself, embracing yourself in a way that's appropriate for whatever you're doing, you get that stimulus, and it tends to be pretty good. Now, if you want some superlative thing, or you want like a absolutely shredded six-pack, sure, doing an additional core helps. But I think, a lot of times we'll talk to folks and they're like, yep, I have my daily 5-minute core routine. It's like, well, if that was so effective, then why is your back still hurt?
Yep.
Because shouldn't that be addressing that?
Yep.
So it's like something isn't matching. So just, again, context for core. The other part is, you describe movements in a way where I think you could think of things in two broad buckets: that which prevents you from slipping backwards, and that which produces stimulus to edge you forwards.
Yeah.
So in my estimation, you can't super couch your way to abundance of ability, but you can use it to avoid regression back to whatever was hurting you.
Yes.
In which case, you can kind of do unlimited super couch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much super couch you'd have to do to start to mess yourself up, supposing you're doing it correctly. But you can only do so much back extensions before your back fatigues to the degree where it's starting to do more harm than good.
Yep.
So I'm kind of begging the question here and just like providing context for somebody who might listen to this and goes like, yeah, my back is killing me. You guys are talking about all this vague stuff. Like, what am I supposed to do? And then I think the linchpin there, going back to the timeline, is we've been working together for 6 months. Is unfortunately another 18 months of work to then start the process of you retaining ability, and the whole rest of your life is now, every decade is a block of training that helps you retain what you've got.
Yep. 100%.
So it's like, I've always found it more helpful to think in those types of contexts, and you're living proof of that. You're saying it, and I'm just kind of like regurgitating it back to you of, well, how do you even fix an injury? And it's like, well, I mean, you could go on TikTok and find the one true movement to solve any problem.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Or you just have like, all right, I got all this stuff I got to digest. But if you keep chipping away at it, it's reasonable.
No, I agree. I think like you touch on a subject that's very important. It's there's not one stretch that fixes your injury. It's very methodical. So our process, from day one, half of the movements that you asked me to do, I was like, no, I can't do that. That's going to hurt me. Oh, I can't do that. No, I can't do that. And so it was like a relationship of like, okay, well, he can't do this, but I know that maybe he can try that.
Yeah.
And then we'll see where this movement does. Does this find relief, or does this make the pain a little bit more?
Right.
And that process of just like kind of teeter-tottering with danger, so to speak.
100%.
Because like I couldn't stand straight. So we would try movements, super couch one of them, and see what happens. Like at first I couldn't even, I would be leaned up against the wall with like my leg and me, try to get the ball in front. I couldn't even push myself up because I was like, oh, my back is going to break.
Yep.
But we knew that we had to make some sort of progress from there, right? So we flirt with, like you would say, flirt with disaster, so to speak, but being very methodical about it.
Yep.
So we found out that like, okay, fine, hip flexor is like our number one priority for now. And then we move on to other stuff. We keep targeting hip flexor and then like strengthening the area around it. And then I want to say like 2 weeks ago, we tried a very random exercise, which hit in the inside of my
Are you talking about the slider
SI
thing?
joint. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
the slider thing. And I told you, I was like, this is scary.
Yeah.
I literally said like, this is scary for me. I might hop on, I might try it and then not do it at all.
Right.
But I mean, me like not being overly eager to do the exercise, very much like listening to my body.
Yep.
Tried it. And then surprisingly, that opened up severe movement for something else. Severe movement for like, it opened up my hips so that I can get deeper into like my split squat. I was able to do my seated good mornings like a lot better.
Yeah.
So treating an injury is a methodical, slow process that you kind of have to flirt with disaster in the process.
Yeah, I quite frankly had little expectation of that movement doing as much as it did for you. It was a surprise for me, and sometimes there's a happy accident there because I'll have like 10 things in mind, and we'll like you said, we'll try 3 or 4, and it's like I don't know. Ooh, okay, I like that one, and that one. Not only did it have some specific acute benefit to what we were talking about, like basically opening up the groin, but all of a sudden we were doing that in conjunction with split squats, and your split squat was 50% better than I've ever seen it without even intended to do that. So that was a really interesting find. So suffice to say, we're going to do a lot more of that.
Yeah.
Open you up, get you doing the splits. Speaking of like superlative abilities, independent of pickleball, because pickleball, the demands of pickleball, like you don't have to have a 40-inch vertical to play the game. Do you have things in your register that you go like, ooh, I'd like to be able to run a mile in less than 6 minutes, or have a 30-inch vertical, or bench press, whatever? Like, do you have goals outside of pickleball that you'd like to?
Outside of pickleball that are not related to pickleball at all, or that will affect my ability?
They might have some tangential carryover. Like you being able to do the splits or walk on your hands is going to have very marginal utility for pickleball. It's not going to hurt you.
Yeah.
But kind of like fun outside the box.
I want my 6-pack back.
Okay. Well, that's an easy one.
Superficial. It's almost summer. Summer's like 3 months away.
Well, now's the perfect time to start.
Yeah, so I want my 6-pack back. I want to be back on the squat rack just because it's fun.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, the squat rack is fun.
Yep.
It's just like the plates,
yep,
headphones, weight.
Yep.
But gotta be careful. Can't overdo it.
Yeah, that's back squats in particular.
Yeah. Barbell back squats. Barbell deadlifts, barbell sumos, all the heavy things that you can, it fills your ego.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to see plates. You're like, yeah.
Now doing that barbell math, and all of a sudden, you have the one more plate, and you get rid of all the change plates and put on the real thing. It's like, yeah, it feels really good.
Will it make me better at pickleball? A little bit. I think being able to do like some degree of deadlifts is back protection. RDLs is back protection, but will a 405 deadlift help me in pickleball versus a 135 comfortable, healthy reps? No, maybe.
There's a very interesting discussion to be had there. So I started working with a track guy, so I've been doing all this track research, and there's a dude by the name of David Radisha, I believe, who I can't remember this. Anybody who's in the track space and in the 800-meter race is going to know that name.
Yep.
So I'm researching like what he's doing for weight training and stuff like that. And this dude is a runner, a middle distance runner, and he back squats 285 at about 150 pounds body weight, which 285 at 150 for somebody who practices squats all day long is like a pretty good. That's almost double body weight.
Yep.
For a runner, that's absurd.
Yeah. For a middle distance.
For a middle distance runner. I mean, you could argue a sprinter, maybe that's more useful or whatever it is. But that's an absurd amount of weight for somebody who isn't particularly heavy and is also running. You would think running, what do you need squats for? Well, it's like, if you're iteratively trying to eclipse the 1/100% of the people in your race, it's like, at some point, you being able to deadlift 405 and your opponent being able to only deadlift 205 isn't going to win you the games, but it's probably going to insulate you against the repetition of play and then also incrementally, marginally allow you to get to shots or be more explosive when it counts in that 1 out of 1,000 shot. But like for your average, I'm watching people, they're standing at the net. Two people with, deadlifts that are 200 pounds different isn't going to matter. So it's like, it comes to count at the fringiest of fringe ability. And you're playing at that level compared to most people. So, does an 800 pound deadlift matter? Probably not. But like, getting to that, how much do you weigh again?
160.
So clearly in excess of double body weight deadlift is like, all right, you've checked that box. You now have an abundance of reservoir there. So all things related to your hinge and your knees and your back are probably going to be good. And then it's, spending time to get as many of those buckets filled as possible, and not, maybe pickleball players, this doesn't happen to them in relationship to deadlift, but not falling into the trap of more is better, because at some point there's diminishing returns.
100%.
But yeah, I mean, if we could get you a 3-weight, if we could get you in a 1,000-pound club, I mean, that, like, think of how resilient you would have to be while maintaining your athleticism on the court and being that strong. I mean, that would be insane. Maybe not the best use of time. Maybe an 800-pound club is fine, but like
800 doable, 100% doable. Yeah. 1,000, man.
1,000. Well, yeah.
That's a big boy club.
Well, that's just the benchmark that people like to go to.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen those? Getting off topic a little bit, people doing the 1,000-pound their application.
Yeah.
And they'll do like a 50-pound kettlebell and like a 100-pound back squat, and they'll do like a 900-pound bench press or something.
Yeah, I've seen those. Those are wild.
Insane.
I've seen the gyms where they have like 1,000 pounds. 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
That's cool. Good for them.
Yeah.
Good, like really, really good for them.
Yep. Cool, man. Well, I think I got to cut it because I got to move on to other stuff. Any other just like random things you want to throw out there, or just like interesting, like for anybody that happens to listen to this, just like a good take home message of what you've experienced and what you've learned and what you'd hope somebody else could digest?
Protect your body now.
Yeah.
And what I mean by protecting is, like, you don't need to jump on like barbell back squats, but I mean, ultimately, I had this conversation with you. Pickleball is cool and fun. Like traveling, like I travel and play pro for absolute fun. It's not my I'm trying to be top 20 in the world. I use it as an excuse to travel. Like I'm going to Maine in June to play in PPA Challenger, to see some friends in Boston and have a good time. But ultimately, for me, the goal was like, well, even if I'm not playing pickleball, 15 years from now, if I have a kid, I want to be at a park or at a beach, and I want to throw football to my son without not having to worry about can I make that movement and like absolutely ruin my back and ruin the day. I also want to be able to grab groceries and walk upstairs because I couldn't do those things. So outside of like pickleball, it's more of like a life function thing. So protect yourself now, do your stretches, work out and lift. And it does, like, if you saw me when I was lifting with the girly pink turquoise dumbbells, right? And I'm like, screw it. Like, if I'm going to use 3 pounds for this exercise, I'm putting all ego aside because you have to. Yeah. Pink dumbbells. Here we go. Let's go. Let's do some lifts. Like, just protect yourself now. That is like any advice.
Yeah, every single athlete will someday be a former athlete, and then you have to live the former athlete life. And I cannot tell you, I'd say probably like 70% of the people I've ever worked with are former athletes at like a reasonably high level, and almost all of them have some level of regrets in terms of how they frame their training and how, for the most part, like ego, like back squat in the football weight room, that kind of stuff, like messed them up irrevocably. And now they're in their 40s and they got kids and they're dealing with the fallout of that. And it's brutal. And it kind of goes back to, it's isolating and it's depressing, and you can't be the person you want to be. You can't be the father you want to be. It's like big, real stuff. And it all kind of goes back to like taking care of your body and exercising. And it can be very intense. I have a ton of empathy for like that transitional space and people going through that kind of stuff. Yeah, man. Cool.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Hey, thanks
for sharing your story, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.